Here we are, Decatur, Texas. Got the Post Oak Realty guys, Landon, Hale, and Ben Burnside. They're my brokers with my new operation that we got going on here in Decatur, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody that knows me knows you guys, and this is kind of the ultimate goal of this call. And here we are set up in our studio, which is actually just our office here, my office that I have a lease on and super excited, but it's downtown Decatur, and it just kind of makes the nostalgia a little bit better. So I want to introduce you guys. Landon, say hi.
Hello.
Ben, well, tell them a little bit. If people don't know you, let's kind of start back how this all started, because it was a big shock for me to come over to you guys, but I want people to know why I did it, and here we are.
Sure.
Go ahead, Landon. Where are you from? What you got going on?
Yeah, so I grew up in Collinsville, Texas, very, very small town. And, real estate just in general, right? And I'm not going to be long-winded with this, but real estate in general, getting into that was really not something I ever intended to do. My understanding of real estate is that Dad owns rental properties and I mow them in the summer.
Yes.
Period, end of story. And I remember I was working at a credit union and I was bored out of my mind. And I thought, man, there is more to life than this. There has to be. And it wasn't like I'm going to die here if I keep working, but I was like, there's more to it. There's something out there. So I was praying about it. Do I go back to school? Graduated from Tarleton State. Do I go back to more education? Do I change the city that I currently live in? Like, what is this, right? And real estate was pointed out through prayer, and followed that. And it's now been 10 years and some change. But, for myself, huge outdoorsman, love my wife and my kids. Very, very, very simple person. So.
Well, he's a go-getter is one thing I've learned about Landon, and he doesn't stop moving. I feel like unless it's hunting season, he's in the office and he's out there.
We'll see what happens is it gets into hunting season and things get more frantic because I have to finish my work so I can get to the stand.
And it never fails that come October and November, that end of year real estate rush, it hits, and it always seems like it's like when we want to slow down, the real estate market picks up. So kind of funny.
For sure.
Well, Ben, you're a part of Post Oak Realty, and not who you always were a part of, but tell us a little bit more about where you're from and who you are and what you do.
I been in real estate for almost 20 years now. I got started a little bit different. I also didn't think I would, didn't grow up thinking I'd be a real estate person, but been somewhat entrepreneurial since I was a kid, and sold my first business while in college. Didn't know what I was going to do with after that, and so started investing in real estate with a little bit of the money that I had from the sale of that business, and really enjoyed it, and that led me to getting licensed, and here we are today. And so, and the investing side of real estate is still probably my kind of niche, if you will, and I think it's been that part of it's been fun for me. So,
a big thing we're going around our brokerage is that you constantly you talk about how many flips that you've done, which is purchasing a home and renovating and reselling on the market. And that was very intriguing when I heard about it, just because everybody seems like they want to do that, but they don't have the skills or the resources, or they're scared to do it. They don't know how to get the financing. So how many have you done?
I'm coming up on 350. Yep.
Wow. 350 flips. And it can be from you've done a few mobile homes, but most of them are going to be your 3.2s and, your homes that that you can get under market value, and then put some money into them, resell. And that's been a little side hustle for you for 350 times. That's pretty amazing. How many of those would you think that are with other real estate agents?
In Post Oak in the office, probably a third to a half of them have been with other agents in our office, and I'd say probably a third. And because I was doing it for a number of years before I started partnering with people, and so probably a third of them. Today, I would say better than half of the ones that I do are with someone in our office. So
it's very enticing.
Well, what I love, just on the flip on the flipping, but on the flip side of that, what I enjoy so much, what I've learned from that post merger, we'll get into that, but we merged our two real estate companies together in May of 23. So it's not even been a year, but a lot of times people, like maybe even just heard that statement. And the statement of I've flipped 350. Well, for a lot of people, they're going to say, oh, so you've screwed 350 people out of money, right? Like, oh, you've really, done X, Y, and Z. And one thing that I love, one thing I love about being a part of that and part of the conversation and having a front row seat of that is 9 times out of 10, and the 1 time out of 10 is not screwing someone, but 9 times out of 10, what I've seen, what I have learned, what I've been taught, it is providing someone a solution and a way out. I had someone just the other day that was like, man, look, can you please just buy it for this? Like, we would be thrilled if you bought it for this. I'm like, but man, we can get you probably X, Y, and Z if we hit the market. I know the house is not in that great a shape, but I know we can get more than what an investor would offer you. And they said, Landon, we don't want the house shown. I don't care if we get tip-top dollar. We don't want to deal with an inspection. We don't want to do any of that. Can you please just buy it? Almost begging me to buy it. And that's not the case. People don't beg us to buy houses every day, but I will say one thing for that needs to be said, because a lot of people think you're screwing people. It is not that way. It has been a very, because that's new to me, but before the merger, I had flipped maybe 3 or 4 homes with my parents. I think 3, literally. And so it's just been really cool to see that, to know that side of it. I didn't think otherwise. I didn't think like, oh, Ben flips houses. He definitely gets people short end of the stick. Never crossed my mind, but being able to see that side of it and see the hesitancy from other people in the market, it's like, man, you don't have to work people over, it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, I was brought up around real estate because my mother was a realtor. She's been that way for over 30 years. And it seems like, I've watched her flip houses. I helped her renovate some in college, come back on Thursdays and work all weekend, painting walls that are covered in smoke and, all the stuff. So it was something that wasn't new to me, but when you start thinking about it in a way that and I've talked to you guys about this in utilizing, code of ethics or whatever we're supposed to be following. Are we really maximizing that seller's asset was a question that I brought up to you guys about this, internal flipping. I don't want to say that wrong, but basically having an opportunity as a real estate agent to flip a house, right? But that scenario, what you're talking about, where the seller is just like, I just need out of this house. I'm embarrassed by the condition. I'm embarrassed by what we've done to it. It's my mother's, and I don't want people coming in anymore. Share with them what the market value says it is based on a comparable market analysis. They said, I don't really care. I just want this amount of money and I'm good with it. You've said to me that that's about how all of them have gone, is like, hey, just take it out from underneath us. And, and that seems like a fair scenario for everybody.
That certainly happens. The other side of this that I think somewhat takes that scenario off the table is the vast majority of the homes I buy, I'm not representing the seller. And so
that's a good point.
I'm representing myself and my partners. And so it's not my job to act in the seller's best interest when I don't represent them.
Which, to be clear, doesn't mean that it's your job to screw them over.
True. But
that is not your fiduciary duty.
If a home is on the broader market, whether that be an MLS listing or a foreclosure website, and I am competing with the market as a whole, I'm just making my best offer. And if it's a win-win, potentially I get the home. There are scenarios, and I think this is where the ethics question comes into place the most. There are scenarios where, as a real estate broker or a real estate agent, I go on a listing appointment, and I get to that listing, and this is not a market-ready home. This home is trash. This home hasn't been updated in 30, 40 years. And at that point, you can have a conversation with, the seller about that. And there's been a few occasions where I have gone into that sort of scenario, and I've said to the seller, hey, this is what I think your house is You you might consider an investor offer, because, your house won't qualify for FHA financing. It won't qualify
That's a
for
really
VA
good point.
financing. And so you just give them their options. There's also been scenarios, and I think this is kind of what Landon was saying, where I have gone in and recommended to a seller to list it at a certain price, and they say, "Hey, you buy houses, don't you?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, I do, but I couldn't offer you, what I'm telling you you ought to try to sell it for." I one particular one comes to mind, and I knew the lady, and she said, "Ben, you buy houses, right?" And I'm like, "I do, but I couldn't give you what I'm telling you you ought to list it for." And I said, "Yes, your house needs a little bit of work, but I can help you with that as your agent. I can help facilitate it." And she looked me straight in the eye. She goes, "Ben, I want out of here yesterday." And I said, "But Phil, you'll make more money if you do it this way." And she goes, "I have plenty of money." And I realized at that point that like money was not her motivating factor. She wanted to be done with it. She didn't want to hassle with it. And she was open to taking a little less because of that. And so I still felt, a conflict in that situation. So I said, "Yes, I buy houses. What did you have in mind?" And she said to me, she goes, "I offered it to my niece for, X, and I'd give you the same price." And I said, "Well, I would do that, but I don't think you should do that." And she said, she looked at me again, "Ben, I got plenty of money. Buy my house."
Yeah.
And so I bought her house. And,
Well, I think that conversation is just, if somebody's listening and they have any concerns about, as a realtor or a broker, flipping houses, it's not what you assume it is most of the time. We're not wholesalers. We're not trying to, I mean, that is something that happens here in town. I got a lead on one this week, and he said, "Hey, I got a house here on Trinity in Decatur." I'm like, I'm going to show you all today. And I'm like, man, it could be something, but we'd have to put a lot of money in it. Could we resell it? Anyways. So it's just, Landon's brought it up to me. It's like, I'm sorry if we're trying to better ourselves and get better at making, our financials better for our family. And if that is the case of, representing ourselves and purchasing a home and flipping it, why is that a negative thing for than the idea of a real estate agent not maximizing an asset? I mean, I feel like we actually are doing good for not only for the seller getting out of that house, but also we're fixing our own inventory problem within the real estate market right now, which is lack of inventory. We're getting these things clean in the way we think that needs to be done. And we're not I wouldn't cut corners I wouldn't slap a big Band-Aid on a house, because that's even worse of a code of ethics, in my opinion. That's cutting corners for the negativity of the market. And so I feel like we're doing it. That's a good thing for you guys to be doing.
I think so. There's, I'll tell this real quick, but very early in my career into flipping, I had a call out to a house that was a hoarder house, and I went through it. It was one still to this day is one of the worst I have ever bought, and because of that, the house basically had to be gutted to the studs. The sheetrock had mold and all kinds of stuff, and when I worked my numbers, and this, again, this is probably 15 to 20 years ago, so prices weren't what they are now. So when I worked my numbers, the offer that I had to give was pretty low, and I was a little, fearful of making that offer. I didn't want to offend the lady, so I'm, stuttering through giving her the offer, and I give it to her, and she gets the biggest smile on her face, runs up and hugs me, and she said, "That is just so wonderful. This is such a burden off of me. Thank you so much." And she started crying. And then we took what was and this is kind of what you're saying, we took what was the worst house in the neighborhood, a hoarder house that everybody knew. It smelled, this is how bad it smelled. I bought that around Thanksgiving, and on Thanksgiving Day, the neighbors called me because the guys that work for me had opened the windows to air out the house. And the neighbors called me on Thanksgiving Day and said, "Can you please shut the windows? The smell is coming into our house." And so I had to drive over there on Thanksgiving Day and shut the windows. But turned what was the worst house in the neighborhood to probably one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood. And, I think really did a service for that lady, helped her get out of something that was, a burden for her, and then helped the neighborhood. I think ultimately bringing up the prices in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I think this whole conversation, even if we ended here, which we're not, but this is something that needed to get out, to only not only people in our brokerage, but whoever's watching and concerned about how real estate agents are making money on flipping. This is kind of a realistic, personal approach to it. This is our approach. So if there is somebody out there that is curious on how this goes about, I mean, this is as genuine and heartfelt as I could make this of a conversation. I feel like this is nothing to be worried about. If anybody,
it's just an additional solution. I mean, we're in the business of providing people with solutions, and sometimes this is a great solution, sometimes it's not, and that's fine. And but there are, in every market, good markets and bad markets, there are, I talk about the 4 Ds. You have death, you have divorce, you have destruction of some sort, and you have default. And, we can be in a position to provide a solution when those things come up. You don't like the fact that you're profiting off of some misfortune, but the fact is that those things are going to happen. And, if we can be a solution to those people and help them get through it and help them make life a little easier, then we're doing what we should be doing.
Anything else on that, Landon?
Well, just to speak for Post Oak as a whole, we've talked about kind of the mentality, the approach, how it works, how it usually plays out, and why it does play out that way. But I think one thing that's important for people to know, specifically if they are a real estate agent interested in this, we partner with agents all the time on deals. Ben told you already, more than half of my current deals right now are with other agents in the office. People that come to us and say, hey, I found a deal, don't have the money right now. Found a deal, have the money, don't have the work expertise, don't have the property or the project management expertise. Can you partner with me? And those conversations for Ben, they happen more often for Ben. He's been doing that for years, but I have people, even for me, but again, collectively for both of us, that say, hey, found a deal, we should partner on this. So again, kind of to echo what you were saying, yes, these are conversations that can be had whether you're in or outside of our brokerage. Quite frankly, we're not going to partner with you if you're not in our brokerage. That's something that we do exclusively and specifically well. But for an agent interested in getting into that is an arm, if you will, an option that we offer. And Ben has always told me, it's a tool in your tool belt. The better investor you are, the better agent you are. Even credibility online. Hey guy, posting a flip. Hey guys, I'm working on my first flip. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You become more credit worthy, more well-rounded, more professional in the eyes of the consumer. Isn't that what we all want?
Yeah, I want anybody thinking that if I represent you as a buyer agent and you're looking for me, if I'm looking to invest in for you your money or find properties, I'm not going to keep those suckers to myself. You know what I mean? I'm going to do what's best for my clients. And now if it's a family friend or an immediate friend, sphere of influence, I can tell you right now that that conversation may come up, but my job is to do what's best for our clients, and it's still going to happen. It still has. You've never let anybody down by doing your own flips.
No, and we have a great example of that. Just a week or two ago, one of our agents called us, had a potential flip, and we went out and looked at it, and we were ready to make an offer. We had kind of conveyed to him, our offer price, which we think we would have got the house at that price. And in that, it wasn't really a long period of time, couple hour period of time from us looking at it to seeing it, he had a client reach out to him wanting to buy the same property. And he said, he said, y'all want to make an offer? And my client wants to make an offer. What do I do? And we said, you represent your client.
Absolutely.
You do the best thing
and
for your client.
I respect you guys for doing that and understanding that's the money that you would have made off of that deal is not worth the reputation of, the alternative of what could have came of that. And, and that's very important. So that's a first, if your mind is there and that's what you're leading with, that makes me feel very confident in you guys as my brokers, and that story is perfect. I mean, I really appreciated that. And I do want to say, Post Oak Realty was a name that was picked, by Landon because you started out as an individual agent this is me summarizing what I know about you, individual agent, team. Did you have your team or were you on a team?
I started my career individually, solo agent, if you will, for like 4 months, joined a team for 13 months, then went solo, 2 or 3 years later, started a team. So I was running a team and then opened a brokerage.
Okay.
Yep.
What was your team name?
Post Oak Property Group.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So then that just transitioned very easily into Post Oak Realty.
What's your background in your for branding and marketing? What makes you think forwardly on that first?
So for me, being an outdoorsman and just loving to be outside, honestly, is the black and white skinny of it. Like for me, Post Oak itself, in and of itself, the wood is drought resistant, rot resistant, fire resistant. Sure, it can be dead and seasoned and burn real hot. But my point is that when alive and well, they're drought resistant, rot resistant, fire resistant. And I wanted that to be the backbone of the company. I wanted that to be the mentality of the company. There will be no drought. There will be no rot. Rot could be infestation of, bad people for the culture. Those people can leave. And so it was very important to me that we had a name like that. Now, as far as designing logos, I always had that done. That is not my desire or strong suit. But I am really big on what things mean and what they mean to me, what they can mean to other, and then the messaging that we can convey with that. Right. So that's how the name came about. So
nice. So starting a brokerage, what year did you start the brokerage called Post Oak Realty?
November 1st of 2019.
Mm-hmm. So you started it, and then a few months later you hit COVID. Mm-hmm. What went through your mind after COVID hit? And what did you think you made the right decision? Was it tough? Were you worried? You can't say you weren't worried for at least 2 weeks, but because I was, and then my phone started ringing really heavily. So,
in a completely non-hero mindset, my approach to that was, okay, let's roll with the punches. This is going to happen. Let's roll with that. What can we do? What can we accomplish because of that happening? Right? People say, "Oh, well, the market is in a downturn. Rates are high." They are. Those are facts. I don't know that the market's in a downturn right now. I've been hearing about multiple offers, but my point is people look at that as like an oh crap situation. Just change your focus. Right? I mean, it's just a small little pivot in direction. We're still all going the same direction, but you might be 1 degree removed. A lot of people grow their businesses in downturns. That's when people establish their wealth. Now, I established zero wealth starting the brokerage, right?
Right.
But that was my approach is, okay, fine. You're going to punch me. I'm going to punch you back. That was COVID.
And I think that it also helped that you were already an established individual agent and you'd already built a team and you were being successful. So you have, believe it or not, even in a good market, you're constantly going through valleys and also putting out garbage fires to house fires to, you're battling all day long and you're an individual agent. And when you start as a leadership role, it's hard, in my opinion, it's hard to, relay that to your agents that haven't gone through what you've already gone through. But COVID and all of that situation of the potential negativity or this current market, we've been through it. You get punched enough, you learn how to take a punch, right?
Sure.
Or if you play enough sports, it gets easier every time you go out on the court, right? Or whatever it is. So I just feel like you had a little bit of experience backing that up. And even though it started with COVID, it might've been a good thing to kind of, start focusing on what's more important.
Sure.
I think I got more lean and during those downturns, you finally figure out, all right, that's not necessary. I don't need to spend that money on that. Let's get narrowed up. And I've watched how you've, things that aren't that big of a deal really don't bother you, in my opinion, and where a lot of agents and other potentially brokers feel like that's a little thing is a big, they make a, big pile of it and it's not needed to be.
Yeah, that was learned and put into motion over time. Right. Years ago, there would be a conversation, just as a solo agent, there would be a conversation happening in the office, and it would cause, I believe there's fight, flight, or freeze. Depending on the situation, I'm usually a freezer, right? I'm going to freeze for a minute. I'm going to get my bearings. I'll go in a direction, whether that's fight or flight, I'm going to go in a direction. But for me, I would hear, oh, did you hear about X, Y, and Z in the market? Did you hear they're looking to do this as a sole provider? This is like 2016, 2017, as a sole provider for my family on commission, still maturing into my career and as a professional and at the time as an agent. Man, that would send me into a tailspin. It'd ruin my entire day. And so then over time, now I can't even tell you what it is right now. Bad news gets delivered today. It's like, yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll figure it out tomorrow.
That's so
You know?
true.
I think our worldview too on that is important in that we both believe God is in control, and if we will seek Him first, the outcome is in His hands, and so that gives us just great peace in knowing that whatever's going on around us, we don't have to worry about it. It's in His hands, and so I mean, this NAR thing that's come up, there's a whole lot of worry out there about it. And I don't think we've got it. I mean, will there be changes? Yes. Will we maneuver through it? Absolutely. I'm not going to lose an ounce of sleep over it, though. There's nothing I can do about it. And two, like I said,
Well, it affects everyone. It's not like, it's not like, well, the state of Washington and Kansas and New York have to deal with this. Those agents will figure it out. No, it's you, it's me, it's Ben, it's every agent in the US, right? I don't know if it expands beyond that. I don't care. I don't live there. But like every single person is dealt this new card, and the true professional will survive. You either adapt and roll with the changes, or you don't and you die. Like, we'll thin the herd.
Yeah.
Great.
Backing up just before you came into Post Oak, which is not even a year, which is just crazy because, this whole saying of we three have had said we're better together, right? Which is it's kind of a cliche kind of a comment, but it's been really good because we do feel like we've all helped each other and motivated each other to do better. And that's exciting. So how did this relationship paint that picture for whoever doesn't know?
Sure. Landon and I had been acquaintances / friends for several years. We had gotten together maybe once a year for lunch and just, how's the market doing? How's hunting going? How's your office doing? And we got together around about last December.
December of 22.
And just had one of those lunches again, and just we didn't talk anything about merging, about joining forces. We probably talked more about hunting than anything else, and just how business was going. And
well, that's because what you told me at that lunch meeting. I came to that lunch meeting to ask Ben and his entire office to come join Post Oak.
You did?
My intention with asking him to lunch in December of 22. How are you? How are things? Good, great. Our niceties, introductions. I was going to ask, hey, because I didn't know the exact role. I knew he was the broker. I knew he was
ERA,
of
right?
ERA. Yeah.
It's ERA Cornerstone.
Yeah.
And you had an office, you had everything established in Denton. You had 60 something agents, something like that.
Yep.
You had about 60 something agents,
Yep.
y'all met up for a lunch. You had intentions of asking, and you had no clue.
I didn't know he. I mean, I suspected that's why he was inviting me to lunch every year, was to eventually, maybe, you build a relationship with somebody, and and if you find out over those lunches if it's a good fit or not, and so during that lunch, I told him though that we were leaving our franchise. I had been with a particular franchise since 2007, so a long time, and we were leaving our franchise to just do our own thing. We were going to become an independent broker, and we just thought we could do it better, and so I told him that, and I think he kind of thought the ship had sailed, and so he didn't really pursue asking, and so we left there.
That lunch meeting, y'all left.
Yeah. And not a word had been said about it at that point. And I went home just going, man, Landon and I have a lot in common. We have similar values. Would this make sense? We're leaving our franchise. Would something make sense? And lo and unbeknownst to me, he was kind of having the same thoughts. And he reached out to me a couple days later and just said, "Hey, you want to have another quick lunch?" I think that's when we found out we lived on the same street. We didn't even know at this point that we lived, just right down the road from each other.
Well, y'all say street, but isn't it more like a county road?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. We're out in the middle of nowhere basically, and we live a mile apart. And
but y'all were both raised in Denton area or
Collinsville,
Denton. Yeah, and then y'all ended up on the same county road.
Yep. So we met again, not too long after at just a little local cafe up there, and no, it was New York Sub.
No, this was at Lake Iowa.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. And just said, I don't even remember how it came up, but basically said, "Hey, man."
I jumped right in.
Yeah.
Because the reason, like he said, we met in mid-December, got through the holidays. Like the first or second Monday of the year, I texted him. I was like, "Hey, are you free for lunch? Like, I know this isn't our normal rhythm," which is literally every 8 to 14 months we would get together and just have lunch. That's
right.
it.
That's funny.
More to the story on that, though, is I was interested in being in closer relationship with Ben because of what I would see on social. Entrepreneur, investor, above and beyond that, those are backwards. Loves his family, takes care of his family, provides, believer, all these things. Yes. All these things that are attractive. On top of that, entrepreneur, business owner. I personally at that time was like, man, I would love to get into a professional relationship with someone who does these things that can show me a few things, not give me the keys to the kingdom, but just show me some stuff, teach me some stuff. I'll do the work. I promise. Right. Just show me some things. And so I was, warming that relationship up literally over years. And for anyone listening, like Kason, we're not going to derail here, but same with you. The very first time we spoke, I was like, that is my dude. Like everything from archery to family to work, like we are super, super similar. And I didn't ask you, hey, you want to join Post Oak the first 2 months I met you? We're talking like a year. Right. Year and a half before that conversation even came about. But yes, went to that meeting with Ben. My goal was, what would it look like for all you guys to come over, not knowing his exact role and position at that company. He tells me they're doing their own things. Then we get to January, and I'm really evaluating the year. So that was January of 23. I'm evaluating the year of 2022, trying to answer a question. And I know it's really hard for you to answer this question as well. It might be easy to answer it. It's really hard to act on. But that is, what does Kason want? Mm-hmm. What does Landon want? So I was trying to answer that question because it feels selfish. Everything I do, and this is honestly probably backwards as well. Everything I do is for the company or for someone else. My family, yes, sure. All the defaults, of course. We have to live, we have to survive. But all of my time and energy and care and effort is to making their life as an agent easy at Post Oak. I mean, all the time. And so I had just got to a point of like, what do I want to do? I was getting a little burnout. We were fine financially. We were fine from a growth perspective. But I was like, again, entering the space of, there's more to this equation. I can feel it. Right. I don't quite know what it is. So we go to this meeting in January. Can we get together at the cafe? He's like, I can do today or Wednesday. And I'm like, Wednesday is too far away. I will see you in 2 hours. Right. So I was in Denton already, dropped everything that I had, came back up to within 5 minutes of my house. And we just sat down, and his thought was, I had just launched an online coaching thing, like literally the Friday prior. Okay. So on Monday, 3 days later, he assumed either that it was about Post Oak or that more realistically, I wanted to pitch this coaching program to him and his company. That's what he thought. And I just hopped out of the gate. We sat down and said, hey, thanks for meeting me. What would it look like to push our companies together? Y'all do about this many millions in production. We do about this. We were within probably 10 or 12 million of each other. I was like, you have this many agents. We have this many. We both have a Denton location. I have Whitesboro. You have Gainesville. Like, what does this look like? And then the rest rolled out, and we took probably 2 months worth, 2.5 of what does this look like on paper? What should this be? What is that? What are your expenses? All the things that have to happen when you're marrying two companies together. And then it was late March with an April 30th deadline of all systems go. And we just took off in a dead sprint for May 1st. And
y'all did it.
Here we are. Yeah.
Is that accurate, Ben?
Absolutely.
That's
a lot of moving pieces, but that sounds, is it.
You know, sounds like a really good business relationship built based on the right foundation, and similar to how our partnership came about. And most people don't really understand how I'm associated with Post Oak. And I've got asked, are you a broker at Post Oak? And I'm not. I'm not a broker. Yet, and that's literally my mother texted this week. And she said it's time. You've got to finalize, because I'm doing more with bigger land development stuff and commercial representation, and obviously residential and farm and ranch still to this day, but not so much for, of course, it'd be give me a little bit more credibility. And I've been in the business since 2017. I'm a third generation realtor. It's, that's my future, right? I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. And I love what I do too much to go anywhere. But I had the mentality of building a team and running a team like a brokerage, and then hanging my license under a brokerage and putting all the liability back on the brokerage, which was, meaning, but E&O insurance is what we pay for. And that's what usually you lean into and cover. So I've learned so much about how our brokerage operates through what we have going on. I had some thoughts of it before at my previous brokerage, which got my license there in 2017, had no negative say about that. But there is a time in your career where you look around and you decide what's best for myself and my team and for my agents, not only for the opportunities, but, mentorship, leadership role. I don't know if I ever told you this, Landon, because I didn't know Ben before. I only knew Landon, but I don't know how to say this without being, I hate talking about myself most of the time. I don't like to be arrogant, but anyways, when you're doing well and you're doing a lot of business, it gets somewhat lonely, because I was building a team within a brokerage that didn't ever really have team mindset or concept. And this whole team approach for the Caraway team was new, not only to me, but I felt like almost Wise County. There was some already starting in, I'm sure, and they were doing what they were doing, even within Parker Properties. But, getting it right legally, financially, on paper, splits, all of that was so confusing. I had to hire a consultant, who is my transaction manager, Joy Rhodes. I had to get insight from her on how others are doing it across the nation. I was just asking and watching and listening to every video, every podcast I could get my hands on, and it was tough. So I built it, and it's working. It was working really well when the market's really good, right? Well, when the market starts making a little downturn, you start making decisions or what financially is looking like. But all the while, I felt like I was dumping some of this on you every now and then a little bit, Landon, but also we would just talk about archery. We would talk about going to Total Archery Challenges, which is in Oklahoma. We met up. And we saw each other one year. Second year, we tried to shoot together. Didn't quite get to do that. But basically, for the first year, it was like I was a green light on Post Oak. So I wanted to go in with Landon, had the relationship, everything felt good. And then I got busy with real estate again. And, I knew switching over 40 listings and rebranding, remarketing was just going to be a headache. So I felt comfortable enough just to stay. Not to say that was a bad decision, but finally, towards the end of last year, which has been 2023, I knew I had a January 1 deadline of just like, hey, this is going to happen. When you start the year over, your commission splits and your cap and all that with your broker starts over. So I wanted to do that. So I came to Landon. We talked again, and you were pursuing me somewhat pretty hard on 2022. Not hard, but we were talking a lot more. I don't know if I told you this, but it felt like we needed to just give me some time to think about it. And then we go play golf together. And I mentioned, I think it was on after the turn, I was like, hey man, I think I'm going to come back and talk to you again. I've got this gut feeling, you know what I mean? And then it was about 2 months later, into summer, almost in August, I believe. I was like, okay, it's going to happen. I'm going to get through the year. You said, come meet my new broker. I didn't know you'd already merged with Ben. I had no clue. Didn't even have that relationship yet. I met both of y'all at that Blind Goat, whatever it's called, in Denton. And it just, what is it called? Rodeo Goat. Blind Rodeo Goat. And it felt like, first of all, having lunch with my friends and my buddies and and you guys just got it. You've already been through what I've gone through, right? I got my license in 2017, sounds like 2015 or 2016, 07 or something.
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Oh my, I mean, like when I should have got my license, y'all got y'all's license, right? I wanted to get my license, and when I was 18, my mother said, no, you'll work every weekend, and you need to go get a 9 to 5 and work for your weekends, right? Well, I did that, and then
Good for her, though.
yeah.
Isn't that true?
I mean, it was so true and respectful, and I started in healthcare, and I started doing sales, and I was in and out of doctors' offices every day, about 16 calls a day, all week long, and started doing well, selling, hitting my numbers. And the next role was like an area manager, which in an area that I didn't know. All the while I was hunting like crazy, wanting to come back to Decatur, hang out with my friends, my brothers, and my parents at the farm. And I just was spending a lot of time in South Lake, Grapevine, Denton.
Mm-hmm.
And if they told me I had to be at a market in Dallas or Arlington and, or something like that, my gut and my heart wasn't in it. And it was 2016, 2017, the market was kind of doing pretty well. My mom was really busy, and I said, Mom, I don't know what to tell you other than I'm getting my real estate license, and I'm ready. I'm coming. And I did, make some money, support my family, had my first daughter, and living in Denton, lived off Crescent Street down from Denton High. Probably real close to where did you go to school at Denton High?
Oh, I was at Liberty.
Oh yeah. So anyways, Crescent Street, and had a house. And for the first year, for like 6 months, I drove from Denton to Decatur, working for my mom, whether I was inputting listings, and she bought a drone. I flew the drone and was marketing all of her listings and creating all the pictures and doing all that marketing stuff as much as I possibly can. And it's like I cut my teeth in the marketing right off the bat. All the while I was studying taking my test. It took me way longer than it should because I just wasn't fun taking the test and studying, but I was getting it done, got it done, passed. And 2017 of January, I got my license within I think it was less than 10 days. I had my first deal. It was one of our local friends. They bought 5 acres, Krebs. And I'll never forget it because it was like, okay, this is going to work out. Didn't hit a lick for another 2 months, and it was just it was just crazy coming at it hard. And I realized real quick that real estate is a hustle and a grind. I did watch my mother do it for many years, but I never really put it in perspective. I don't know how she made it to every baseball game, every sports, everything. She never missed a thing. And, but it was probably because of the flexibility within real estate, right? But she dominated on all that. She did really good. I just wanted to make it in real estate, and I hit the ground running, and I think I cut my teeth with marketing. I think that's what put me on the map. I was the first one really not the first one. I was implementing a drone like crazy.
You were the first one doing it well.
Well,
that's what stands out. Outlier.
I appreciate that, but in the hunting industry, creating content and making videos and telling stories through video is what I love to actually do, and that's kind of my passion, I think, and that's a creative outlet for me. Then when you get to implement it into real estate, and it's fun, and you get engagement and you get reactions to it, and people, and you see you in town, they're like, man, I see you everywhere. You're not seeing me. Well, I was on Chamber. I was doing a ton of stuff. I was in town everywhere, but
it's like, you don't see me everywhere. I'm just good at scheduling posts.
No, I don't know if I hear you, but scheduling posts was never something I was very good at either. I had to get it out so I can go and do something else, but it's, that's how I cut my teeth, and then grew it, doing well. And I do want to go back to when I came over and met you guys. It was just it was just that feeling of, all right, I'm surrounded with my kind of guys, my kind of people. The leadership and I think you guys push me and motivate me more than you actually know, because I look up every time I call you or see you, you guys are hustling and working, right? It's not a day that I notice that you're not working. And that's what I like to surround myself with. And it's been very, very good. It's only been, what is it? Almost April now. So it's just, oh my goodness, we're really just starting. And so if anybody asks, why don't you guys tell us the partnership and what you see in me and what we got going forward with Post Oak?
Well, I'll try to answer that by backing up to one thing you said. And I don't know if these were the exact words you used, but lonely at the top sometimes. And I think that that's an area that a lot of agents are short-sighted in, is they work really hard, build their careers, but they don't do it with people. And I think there is a negative connotation sometimes on partnerships, whether investing or just partnering with people. And I think rightfully so in some cases. Like if you partner with the wrong people, yes, bad. But I think in longevity of career and the quality of business that you build, essential partnerships are a key factor in that, and can really help push you and motivate you, which is kind of what I hear, you saying. And that's why this made sense. That's why this makes sense. It's why this makes sense, is you have people who are on a similar playing field, all working together, pushing in the same direction. The Bible would say iron sharpens iron. And I think we do that for each other. And I think that's, a neat thing about Post Oak too, is you can come and we can, wherever you're at in your career, brand new, very established agent, we can come alongside of you and help you get to the next level. And that's what I think we're all enjoying about this, is doing that with each other.
Yeah, they say the saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I with Post Oak, I mean, having a partnership on day one is usually not your thought unless you come up with the business idea with someone, right? So no harm, no foul either way. But my thought was, I got to go fast. And then COVID hit and I was like, I got to go really fast, like faster than I anticipated. And so it made sense to go alone for however many years that was, 2.5, 3 years, 4, whatever that was. And then, like I said, there was that internal gut feeling of like, man, there is more to this. And it was a togetherness. There's more to that. He can handle some of the burden. I can handle some of the burden. He needs a day or two off. He's at a basketball tournament with his kids, like whatever it may be. I'm hunting in Kansas. Like, we can help share that workload. And it's not always that he's off and I'm on and I'm off and he's on. We share it equally and share it a lot. But I think with what I it's funny, you don't know this, but to your question of what do we see in you? What does this look like? Where are we going? The moment, May 1st, it, probably even before, but May 1st, I walk into the office that's in Denton, their office. I set my stuff down and I said, hey, just so you know, this is what you don't know. I said, just so you know, I have been working on Kaysen for about 2 years. He is my pick for Wise County. Whatever we have to do to get him, we should consider doing. Some time played on, some time played out. Well, it was only 6, 5, whatever months later. We played golf shortly after our merger, but some time moved along. And then within 6 or 7 months, you were here. But I told him, like, from day one, like, that is who I want. That is who I want to do business with. And we are incredibly selective, even with individual agents that join the company, but another level up for anyone that we want to partner with or grow with. Those are very specific relationships. But I think what we see here is, we joke about it every time we leave being with you, specifically if we're in public, because there is not a time that we go to Fuzzy's or Roosters or pizza place right here. There's not a time that we go out and about that you don't need to go and say hey to 4 or 5 different people, minimum, on the first floor. And then you get to the second floor of wherever, and it's like there's 2 or 3 more people, and it's cool to see. I mean, those are people not for our gain, but we see a relational person, not a transactional person. Oh, yeah. That's how we operate. That's who we are. And so with that, we wanted you here. We wanted that to be someone that we could grow strategically with. At the same time, it wasn't, and I know you don't feel this way, but it wasn't like, hey, let's get Kaysen. He'll do all the work for Wise County. Like, let's do that. That wasn't the play either.
That hasn't been the feeling at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the compliments and what you see in me, because I tell everybody we make money off relationships. I mean, if you're supporting your family by how good you are at building relationships and maintaining those relationships, and I'm good at it in a lot of ways, a lot of ways that I need to get better at, but there's some that I'm really good at, but it's just a lot of team building and working around how we do that as a company as well. And I think if nobody cares about, what you say or what you do, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And, how we answer the phone, how we talk to them, how we interact with them, how the transactions goes, and how you make them feel is way more important to me than anything else. And backing up, you guys make me feel like I'm welcome, and I can lead into you guys. And I know, I know if there's a problem, we're going to get it done and figure it out. And, this whole future of Post Oak is just I am partnered in with you guys for the Wise County and beyond West. We call it Post Oak Realty West. So you can actually picture it as west of 35 is kind of what I brought up one day. And Post Oak Realty West is our kind of our LLC and who we are as a group here. And if anybody's needing more information on understanding what that is, you can come to me and I can help you understand what that looks like for west of 35. But recruiting agents, bringing agents into Post Oak, going into more of the rural communities like Wise County, Montague, Jacksboro, and beyond, Oklahoma, North, whatever we got to do if you feel like Post Oak is a good fit for you, if you're listening to this, this is a great opportunity to have a seat in this office and meet these guys and meet me, and I know we can find a way to help you. And I'm sure there's something that we can do that's probably better than what your current brokerage is doing. If not, it's not a good fit. But I think there's a relationship there. But I think a lot of brokerages are going away from that online mentality of going back to the relationship side of a brokerage, and I think that's a very good foundation for Post Oak. Is
the ones that aren't are suffering now.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I really do.
In a hot market, just about anybody can get a broker's license and do okay. And when the market, presents a little bit of a challenge, you'll start to see, and we have noticed, people coming, from places to, multiple people from, I'm not going to name names, but places that, discount brokers and places like that, flocking to us because they're not getting relationships. They're not getting the support that they need. And we're seeing that pretty frequently right now.
Very frequently, and in the most matter-of-fact, humble way, we are the best solution. And the reason we are, guys, is because we answer our dang phones. Period. End of story. Joking aside, you just said, for those of you interested, there's probably something we can help you with or maybe do better. Yes, we can do better by answering our dang phone. I had someone call me last Wednesday. She said, "Hey, my name is so-and-so with so-and-so Realty. Thank you for answering your phone." I was like, you're welcome. Doing my job here. She was like, "Hey, I've seen this and this and this online and just kind of wanted to know a little bit more about your company and kind of, what makes you different." And I was like, "Well, for one, we're on the phone." I told her this. I said, we're on the phone the first time you called me. So that is kind of an outlier, because it is like, I am completely 100% knocking the people that don't answer your phone. Money is literally calling you. That's what that was. I didn't know the number. I answered it, and that's not go me. Anyone can answer their phone or choose not to answer their phone. But my point is, as you say, there's a solution we can provide. There's maybe something we can do better. Being present, being engaged, being available, being intentional, and caring about someone else growing their business, helping them scale back their business, get started investing. I don't care. We do it better than anyone because we are present.
So obviously that is what I think most people need to hear if they're sitting there in a as an agent, not knowing what to do and what the future looks like. This is a good opportunity for somebody just to have a conversation, and I hope that you get a little intel of what we are and who we are and what we do in Post Oak. And if it's amazingly amount of residential, so if you're a residential agent, that's obviously what you have to offer. If you're a farm and ranch agent or want to be more in the farm and ranch, that is what we offer. If you're in the commercial world, you can come to anybody, even my mother, who's had 30 years of commercial experience. That's a huge resource. And I think that there's some agents that you guys probably do leasing. Have you had some agents making a little money off leasing and things of that nature?
little bit of everything.
Yeah. But long story short, we have it all. And I think that's a great fit for somebody just kind of watching this and consuming. Where do you see, the marketing and giving back to your consumers and going forward with Post Oak? What do you something similar to this platform? What do y'all see coming? What should people be looking for?
In terms of what can a consumer expect from us as a company?
Yes.
I think more of this. I'm already sitting here right now, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, when I get home, I'm making my own podcast studio, not because people need to hear me think out loud and talk and speak at them or anything like that. But because these conversations, whether it's you and just me, you and just Ben, you and another agent, there are so many different perspectives. We as agents get put into, the cookie cutter outline. They're in it for themselves. They don't work very hard. They're in it for the money. They just want to get a quick buck. Like, that could not be further from the truth for how we teach our agents to operate. Okay. So from the consumer perspective, what do I get from Post Oak? You get agents that are trained diligently, day in and day out, guided and educated on ways to handle that transaction and that relationship in a relational way, in a way that will, my phrase is, we are paid in relation to how we make people feel. And so giving agents the tools to serve their people, celebrate their people, how to navigate conversations, the consumer should expect, does and will receive from us that type of agent, that type of service. Yes, we are human. You will get a crappy situation from a Post Oak agent at some point in your life as a consumer, period, end of story. We're human. You're going to get it from any agent across the face of the earth. But what you will get alarmingly more consistently as the default is someone who's going to take care of them, serve their needs, and care about them as a person and the asset that they're moving, whether it's purchase, selling, investing. I think there will be more of this. There will be more podcasts. There will be more video content. It's 2024. Like, that's just what it is.
Yep.
I think too, one of the things we were excited about with the just scale of us when we merged is just the ability to impact our community in positive ways, in more ways, because we're bigger. And I don't think you'll find many people in the community that do more things for the community than real estate people. We're kind of ingrained in it because we've got to know it. And a lot of us are very passionate about helping our community. I watch your mom on Facebook, very passionate about the school board and all the stuff going on and the youth rodeo and that sort of thing. So your mom's a great example, but as an office, we do multiple things throughout the year. And I think we're going to do more of that as our, scale allows us to, but with, just local nonprofits and things that we do throughout the year. And so that's an exciting thing as Post Oak grows, to be able to give back more in those ways.
I love it. It's marketing and building relationships, being involved in the community. And that's what I cut my teeth on. And we're going to continue to do that in a Post Oak brand. So, all right, well, guys, that's really all I wanted to get across to everybody. There's so much more that we could have talked about, but maybe for another one. So really appreciate you guys watching. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us.